meeting workshop of this year's cohort of Euro-Atlantic Resilience Center Young Leaders Fellowship. It's amazing to see you again, and I'm happy to see your faces. I hope that you've enjoyed your time in Bucharest at the forum, and that it was a good experience for you. And fortunately or unfortunately, I will be your first speaker for this series of workshops. You already know me, but I will introduce myself again. My name is Patricia Nae. I am working at the intersection of politics, civic engagement, and youth advocacy. I've been involved in youth representation in the last 7, almost 8 years of my life, having multiple representation positions, both nationally and internationally, ranging from vice president of the Big Student Federation in Romania to being the Romania's UN Youth Delegate, just like Aurelian over here. And also now I am working alongside Community of Democracies, and I provide consulting on youth-related policies for all member states of the Community of Democracies. And in my day-to-day, I work as the Chief of Staff for the President of the Education Committee in the Romanian Senate. I work mostly on policies and projects related to youth and education. And I've done that before also as a civic engagement coordinator for the Open Society University Network, where I've been developing educational programs in the Global South with a focus on Colombia and Bangladesh. And a big part of my work is dealing with crisis and pressure and communication. And for today, I have decided to talk to you a bit about what does it mean to be a leader, and what does it mean leading under pressure, and also what does strategic communication and stakeholder alignment mean in real life. Because there's a lot of classes, courses, workshops, and so on that teach us strategy, but sometimes when we are faced with a big crisis and with a lot of actors and stakeholders, we tend to not function that well under pressure. So the aim for today in the next maximum 1 hour and a half is, together with you, to go very briefly about what does leadership and stakeholder negotiation mean, what does it mean to create strategic communication plans under pressure. And I am planning to do with you a simulation exercise that will basically try to make you feel in different positions, make you feel how it feels to come up with a joint statement. And what does it mean, the whole process of coming up with a joint statement that you have multiple actors on the side. I have a short PPT. I'm not good with PowerPoints. It's not very pretty, but it was honest at work. So I will go ahead and very briefly present it. So then afterwards we have enough time for the exercise, for going over the roles that you all have received in private as a message, and playing, why not, and negotiating. If there are any questions up until now. No, okay. Now, let me see, how do I share my screen on this app? Okay, what is this? 1 second. I have to. Okay, by the time I deal with all the technical aspects, can some of you tell me if you've ever done strategic communication up until now? Paul. No. Paul can, okay, let me see if it works now. Share my screen, window. Perfect, it worked. I try to see you guys as well. I don't know if you, what do you see? Do you see the presentation, or do you see the presentation?
We see the presentation, but it's not in the presentation mode, but it should be fine.
Okay, wait, let me do that in presentation mode. So Now you see it in presentation mode, right?
Yes, yes.
Perfect. So before I start, who else has ever dealt with strategic communication?
I did in different contexts.
Can you briefly share?
Yes. So in my positions in the Romanian government, I was a senior policy advisor to multiple ministers and a state secretary. So in many circumstances, we had to implement concepts that are related to the field of strategic communications or political communication, um, organizing conferences, doing damage control, and I can give you more specific details if you want. But being public, I probably should not. But also, we encountered the same situation when I was a United Nations Youth Delegate for Romania, and when there was a national focal point at the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe, when as national delegation we had to respond really fast and connect with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and draft different types of communications, that to fulfill the strategic objectives of the delegation or of our own mission. So those are the contexts.
Thank you. Savannah, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, so I work in private consulting. So pretty much everything I do is strategic communication with client work, with the people I'm internally on in my teams as well. Just having to set up those regular times as checkpoints, but also for presentations of deliverables, things like that. That's almost the core of the job.
Amazing. Thank you. I'm so afraid to pronounce your name because I don't know if it's Yonjo or can you just say it out loud for everybody to remember so we don't mispronounce it? Because I'm always struggling.
Sure, it's Jonjo.
John,
Yeah, with a J. Yes. So within my role at the World Health Organization, I was involved in communication related to the Ukrainian refugee response. So as part of my job, I developed a communication plan, focusing on risk communication in a crisis context, and this was targeted towards the refugees, but also towards the host population and to the government and key decision makers at both the national and local level. And of course each type of stakeholder had different priorities, had different channels by which we had to reach them. So basically, yes, that's one example. Another example which I've been involved was the recent convex radionuclear exercise, which was conducted in, I think, June 2025. And as my role as technical focal point in the office, we developed a simulated crisis communication strategy for the public in the exposed area.
All right, thank you. Amazing. So I feel like this workshop now could be done collaboratively by everybody. Thank you. Nicoleta, go ahead.
Yeah, like Savannah said, I also work in a private consultancy here in Romania, Romanian owned, and a lot of strategic communication planning for certain political leaders, for certain parties, and as well for our business clients. I think one of the challenging and maybe funniest one was for a brief period of time. It didn't really work out, but we had a client from the gambling industry, and they wanted to create a foundation in a way to wash their name and make new business, like the family that was owning that gambling company. And it was really interesting because it's very different than the normal political strategy communication when you are trying to wash something that controversial.
Nice. Stefan.
Hello, like Savannah and Nicoleta, I've been working since I was in university at different type of sales, which one of them was financial consulting, where you have to be very strategic with how you speak with the customers and try to understand them as much as you can, and make them know what type of problems they have and how they can solve them. So you have to be very specific and strategic in this, so that you don't sound pushy to them, that you want to sell them something, but at the same time to show them you have a problem that you saw at them and you have a solution for them. So you need to be really careful how you combine all of this, so that it won't sound like a salesman and more like a consulting. So you will be able to be more like a friend and a helper than a salesman. Because most of the time when they feel like you are selling them something, regardless of the fact that you present them the problem, they understood the problem, they will say no, and they will live with things like that, because they've been living like this for the rest of their lives, and they will continue to live like that if it sounds salesy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'm happy that there is a part of you that already have dealt with strategic communications before, and we do have a basis here. Today we are going to focus a bit about strategic communications in crisis, because that's what I deal with, and that's my when Paul and I were deciding about me doing a workshop for you, I was like, maybe all that I could do is try to show you a bit of my world and of my day to day, and how it feels to try to be a young leader in different environments where you have to deal very fast with crisis and get the most out of it, especially when you have to do also the communication part. So basically, for me, the way I understand leadership usually is that it's about making making sure that you can get an alignment. So I feel like leadership involves a lot of stakeholder negotiation, and usually the your nature as a leader comes out when you are in a crisis, and how it shows when you know how to deal with it. And most usually crises involve multiple actors with conflicting priorities, because that's the world we live in. And for me, leadership is about the ability to align stakeholders quickly. So the person or the institution in the room that knows how to create consensus, that knows how to make everybody get out of the room in a way or another satisfied with the outcome. And my goal is always to focus on shared principles, and then to try to negotiate the details later, because we always have ideally the common good in mind when we go into a crisis and we want to solve it. And that's why, for me, one hard lesson that I've learned in my experience is that alignment sometimes doesn't mean perfect agreement, but it means the capacity to negotiate, to reach a consensus, and to get the best possible result out of the resources and the time that you have in a certain crisis. So today's exercise will mainly focus on this. And strategic communication under pressure is focusing on some points, and that the most important one is that communication that comes out should have clarity, consistency, and credibility, because we are living in a world, and we all see that depending on the crisis, we have a common element, that is misinformation, or a lot of sources that are changing the content of the information of the crisis, and this usually leads to more stress for the beneficiaries, or the people, the target group that we are aiming to get the information across, and also leads to more conflict afterwards. And I always have some principles, such as the fact that the information that we use in communication under pressure should be always verified from multiple sources, and if possible from official and credible sources. And we should try to avoid speculation. Given the fact that I'm working at the intersection of politics and civic engagement, this is a place where usually speculation is used too much. And that's why it's important to have very strong, basis of verified information. And another important thing when communicating under pressure is to coordinate the timing and the content across stakeholders. What does it mean? It means that if, for instance, you are trying to react to a crisis that involves national institutions, NGOs, civilians, international organizations, and so on, you have to make sure that the information and the content that you share is more or less aligned and coordinated with your partners, because afterwards this could lead to more conflict, to a prolonging of the discussions, and basically to more unrest in the population. And it all obviously this all leads to rapid decisions and iterative adjustments, meaning that you have to think fast, you have to trust your intuition, and you have to make peace with the fact that iteration is key, meaning that sometimes you have to work from one step to another and to change and adjust in order to make sure that you come out as a reliable, credible source. And the task for today is the following. All of you will act as part of a Euro-Atlantic multi-stakeholder task force, just like you are here, part of this fellowship. And your goal is to coordinate a unified message under time pressure, meaning half an hour, balancing accuracy, credibility, political, humanitarian, and security considerations. And you must negotiate, all of you present here, align priorities, and produce a three-point joint statement that covers facts, so accuracy and verified information, actions and intentions, meaning the measures that your group here as a task force will take collectively, and risks. So what must be avoided? That means steps or statements that could escalate tensions. And this 3-point unified statement should be done under the 30-minute time constraint. Now, let's see who knows what a joint statement is. I will explain to you if you don't know, but I'm curious who has done it before, if so, and what do you think it is? And you have to raise your hand for that because I don't see you guys now. Or maybe I can. Yeah, I can. None of you knows what a joint statement is. Okay. Then I'll tell you. So basically, a joint statement is, wait, is it working? Yeah, okay. A joint statement in the context of a crisis is a short, coherent, and unified message that a multi-stakeholder group agrees under time pressure. For instance, the response that the EU member states are taking in face of a conflict, or the response multiple NGOs or multiple ministries in your countries are taking in front of a different crisis. And that might seem like a very easy task to do, but actually it's a very difficult and strenuous situation to be in, especially for the people that are in the room. And this concise document or message that usually we see, during news cycles or in different newspapers or on social media is actually coming out after a quite long series of discussions and negotiations. Yes, Stefan.
May you give us some good examples? Maybe it's easier to understand.
Yeah, so for instance, let's take the war in Ukraine, right? After the war in Ukraine started, the EU or the EU member states have came out with a joint statement saying that the EU member states are condemning the Russian aggression against Ukraine, or now they are saying that they are saying no peace negotiations about Ukraine without Ukraine. That seems like a quite easy message to create, but that is actually the result of a series of negotiations on content, on the words that could be used, on the framing of the joint statement, and so on. And that is coming out after multiple actors both part of out of all the stakeholders involved have had negotiations and have decided on the statement. Or if there is a big fire, let's say in a country, usually multiple ministries that are involved are coming out with a statement saying that this fire has happened. We have up until now we have identified a number of injured civilians. We are planning to continue the search and rescue and make sure that all the victims or all the people that are injured are taken to hospitals and so on. And what should not risks to avoid, it means that we are advising the population living in the area that is on fire not to approach over there, and that everything is under, that we have the situation under control. Now, this is a very standard joint statement that, let's say in this case, multiple institutions are taking in case of an emergency. But this usually reflects, before any wars, that we see an alignment, that multiple stakeholders are coming to after different negotiations. So this also means that not every personal agenda of the stakeholders involved gets included into this joint statement. But the interests in this case are represented strategically. So we have a clear goal in mind, that is, for instance, resolving a crisis, and we make sure that via different rounds of negotiations between all the stakeholders involved, and these stakeholders can go from 2 to 10 to 20 and so on, are represented and are making sure that they are meeting the goal of our task, and that is resolving a crisis. So for instance, diplomats, policymakers, even civil society actors often have to agree on a single unified message quickly, because this shows, this helps creating a common front, but this also helps reassuring the population or the targets group that different actors are serving, that that people know that the leaders are in charge, that they are aware, and that they are taking all the appropriate steps to solve a crisis or a situation. Usually, as I said, it's the structure of the joint statement is based, or the way we work on a joint statement is based on 3 steps. The first is the situation overview, meaning the facts. So that means including confirmed information. In the case with the fire is, we have a fire, it's in that district, this is how big the area affected is, this is how many people are affected, and so on. So very accurate information. Then we have the intentions, meaning the actions. So what we will do collectively, ranging from, having the situation under observation, going in with military in the case of a conflict, or going in with firefighters in the case of a fire. And we have the risks, or what should be avoided, and that is what we want to prevent, meaning we don't want any more misinformation. So this is the part where we reassure the target group that we have the situation under control. We make sure that any sort of fake news or misinformation that has appeared already is clarified. And we also try to frame the boundaries for communication and actions, meaning that this usually looks like we have the situation under control, and we will keep you updated the moment that we have more information. This is the model of a joint statement used for very, like small crises, not small, but like usual crises that usually appear. So a fire, or I don't know, for instance, in the case of the earthquake in Turkey, this is how the authorities have been, trying to deal with social unrest by giving out joint statements frequently and updating hourly the population about the situation after the earthquake. Why does it matter? Because this ensures clarity and consistency in communication from leaders, so from stakeholders that are in the position of leadership, to the population and the groups that they are representing. but it also aligns diverse stakeholders with different priorities and interests. So in the case, for instance, of political actors taking a joint statement, for instance, in the case of Romania right now, we had the first time since Romania is a democracy, we had a law that was voted with majority, and that had to do with ending violence against women. And then there was a joint statement. And if you check that joint statement, some may say, some people that are favoring a very progressive party would say that it's very moderate. But then that joint statement was the result of the negotiation of terms that were used by parties that were both progressive, more, some of them were conservative, some of them were more left-leaning, others right-leaning. So then it was the result of a negotiation. And it helped align under the same goal, meaning ending violence against women, in this case, multiple actors that usually are coming from different positions. And also, obviously, it helps manage uncertainty and prevent misinformation or escalation of different crises, both inside the, let's say, the close circle of actors that are trying to solve the crisis, but also from the wider public, meaning the larger population of a country or the larger target group of different actors. So the easiest way, or how I think about it, is I try to make sure that when I go into the negotiation, I have a list of priorities. So what are the 3 main points that me as an actor involved want to achieve, from the most important one to the least important one? Because from experience, I've learned that I cannot have everything that I want, and I cannot put in the final result all my messaging or all my priorities. So therefore, I started to prioritize and to try to find alignment in order to make sure that everyone can support the joint message. And also, I've learned that fast decision making is extremely important, especially under pressure, because not everybody has the same access to information or has the same information. So there, it's very important to learn how to make a puzzle. So instead of saying under pressure, oh, my information is the most reliable one, try to always go for how do we make a puzzle out of all these pieces of information that we have, meaning where do our informations come, are they meet, so coincide, and where are they divergent? And if they are divergent, why? How can we make sure to double check in a very short time? And how can we make the best picture of all the pieces of information in a way that we have a complete image? And obviously, negotiation, every role and every stakeholder contributes with their priorities and red lines. But the most important part, as I said in the beginning, is to make sure that everybody that is in one room or in one situation goes out of that situation satisfied with the result of it, meaning that there should always be cohesion and credibility and consensus when reaching the ending point of the negotiation. Oh, okay. Questions up until now. I will stop sharing and then I will start again, and I will show you the exercise, because we are very good on time, so we can take 5 minutes for questions. Yes, Stefan.
Basically, it will improve it's focused on improving our time under pressure negotiation.
Yeah.
This exercise.
Yes. Not only it's basically, this simulation will force you to think fast, to respect your red lines, and to also respect your priorities. One idea that came to my mind now is, I ask, how about all of you changes the name to this your name on the screen to the position that you have received for the simulation. Because all of you have a position. And before I give you the scenario, it might be good to see what role you play. They were assigned, so actually made use of all your bios and tried to create these roles based on your profiles, and they were assigned not as randomly as you think, but I tried to assign you roles that would be a bit different than what you do in your day-to-day. I don't know if you can I don't know, you can change your name, right?
That's what I was looking for. I don't think it's
I'm
like
not
Zoom.
entirely sure about that. Yeah.
No, you can't. Fuck. Oh, sorry, that was recorded. Sorry. Okay, so then let's do it like this. Let's take a round of introductions, and each one of you state what role you have.
I can start. So I'm a journalist from a major European media outlet.
All right, thank you.
I'm a policy advisor at the EU External Action Service.
Okay. Who else?
Expert and I specialize in cyber threat and cyber operations.
So Savannah, I think that I didn't really hear you.
I'm a cyber expert. I specialize in cyber and hybrid operations.
I think the best option is to type in the chat.
Yeah, you can also type it. So
All of us can
Savannah
type
is
in the chat and we can be more effective
Yeah.
like that.
Savannah is a cyber resilience expert specializing in cyber threats and hybrid operations. And then Aurelian is wait,
I am the NATO Strategic Communications Officer. I'm
Yes.
working for Stratcom,
Yes.
the NATO Stratcom. But I'm gonna write the position in chat is the best
Yeah.
the best thing ever.
Just you're right. Just make use of the chat. Alexander is typing. Anna, what about you?
I'm a political advisor to the European Parliament, and I will write it down as well.
I just wrote down mine. It's a civil society analyst who is independent.
Perfect.
And I am a crisis communication specialist. I am an independent consultant.
Yes.
And I'm a local NGO representative.
All right. And Stefan?
I'm a think tank security analyst from United States.
All right.
Basically, I'm a tank.
Well, now that we have all the positions in place and everybody knows who the others are, I'm gonna share my screen again and I'm gonna tell you a bit of a story. All right, do you see my screen again?
Yes.
All right. So, what happened in Velina, guys? Early this morning, a serious incident occurred on the border of Velina, which is a fictional country located in the EU's eastern neighborhood. Reports indicate that civilian casualties have occurred. Multiple actors, ranging from local authorities, international media, and social networks, are already reporting conflicting accounts, and the wave of misinformation is spreading rapidly. The Velinian government has issued an initial statement, but internal political divisions have resulted in inconsistencies. Local civil society actors and NGOs are calling for immediate humanitarian support, while regional security experts are warning of potential escalation. NATO, the European Union, and partner states are closely monitoring the situation, seeking to issue a coordinated international response. I will also send you the story in the chat, so you have it there as well. And now, basically, what you will do is your goal for the next 30 minutes is to deliver a 3-point joint statement. You have to align. We are not seeking for perfection. And you'll have to keep in mind that during these 30 minutes of negotiation, each of you has your role, some red lines, and some objectives for it. You will have to negotiate all together. And I will be giving you 2 twists. So just like in a real situation, we will have we'll have certain updates that we will receive. I don't know when, during these 30 minutes, and you will have to adapt to it. By the end, the end goal is that in half an hour from now on, so by 7:44, 7:50, let's say, with a small extra time, you will have to come up with a joint statement. And then I'm stopping this, and I'm sending you once again the story, the scenario in the chat for you to have it. And before we start, we can ask a round of questions if it's necessary. Oh, I don't know why. Oh wow, I don't know why it became so big, but questions. Do all of you understand your role? From NATO to the EU to the external, the ES of EU to NGOs to the US think tank analyst and so on.
Just a question, maybe you can still share your screen with the story. I think it's easier to follow. That
Yeah,
way
I
we
can do
can
that.
we can look at the chat for our colleagues' positions then.
All right. 1 second. There you go. I'm gonna make it in. Do you see it now?
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
So yes, Stefan, we have a question.
So I'm kind of 50-50 of understanding what I should do with this role based on what topic we have, because okay, we have this and we have to make a 3 joint statement, but like I have to do some sort of freestyle based on that I'm a think tank security analyst, because I didn't understand well. I'm kind of understanding.
So all of you have a position.
Yeah.
And this is you as actors involved in this crisis have to come up with a joint statement. But all of you have a certain objective out of it. It can range from getting some terms into the statement to putting the blame on someone to maybe maximizing or minimizing the risks of the crisis. And the goal is to make sure that out of this joint statement, meaning the facts, so what is happening, and you have the facts already in the description of the scenario, right? You just have to make sure that you put the wording correct, and then you have to come up with some actions that you need to take all together. So what would be some actions? Do you want to call for humanitarian aid, or do you want to just observe? Do you want to put the blame on someone, or do you want to be totally objective towards the situation, you as an international body of actors. And then you have to also come up with some risks and some things to avoid, meaning how do you make sure that there are no escalations between you guys as international actors, that some of you, as you probably observed, may be on the same side, but some of you naturally are not ones to usually work together well. So how do you make sure that this joint statement will come out in support, and what's the goal mainly? Yeah, Aurelian.
I think Anna was
Sorry,
first, so
I didn't see you because
will
I'm having you in a small
contribute
screen.
after she speaks. Okay.
Thank you, thank you. So I have a question. It's not really clear for me if this incident represents a military intervention or a civil situation, conflict between, I don't know, minorities, or what we are actually dealing with here.
Well, that's a starting question. What do you guys think?
If border is included, I would say that it's a military conflict, for example. I would take that as a hint. It's not necessarily a natural disaster. It could happen, of course, but it takes me, the first thing that I think about is a military conflict. Yeah.
Okay, our NATO Stratcom officer, what do you think about this?
I think we should not speculate on the subject because it's it's one of the characteristics of strategic communications. So we should not speculate based on the fact that it happened early in the morning. It can be something else. A lot of civil actors are talking about humanitarian support. I'm not sure, but again, no speculation. I would rather see more facts and try to assess or analyze the situation a little bit closer, and also connect with the Vilnius government to see what's their input on the subject matter, the behind the doors input, not the public statements.
All right, Jonjo, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, so as a journalist, I also agree with Aurelian. We don't have enough information regarding the nature of this conflict. There would be a danger of, at this point, pointing to a military conflict, as this could, well, for one, this could escalate or inflame kind of existing tensions, but also, it would damage the reputation of my outlet if we say something which then turns out to be totally non-true, because either there is a military event or there isn't. It's not no gray zone there.
All right, Nicoletta.
First of all, I think in a normal general setting we would have all the information, like of what happened. So if it's an earthquake, it's an earthquake. If it's a military intervention, it's it's a military intervention. But going back to what I said, I think the term casualties is used only when we speak about military conflict, terrorism, things like that. And if it would be, for example, a catastrophe, we would use the word victim, not casualty.
Actually, you use casualties in terms like in any sort of, casualties mean, I think by definition, people, or, people that have lost their lives.
Yeah, I know, like if you're civilian, sorry, from my knowledge, like from what I learned at school, civilian casualties would be mainly because in other words, you would use other terms, sorry, if it's an earthquake, for example.
So my role here is the devil's advocate. You shouldn't rely on me at all.
Yeah.
Like I'm here just to facilitate.
That's what I'm saying. Like I would still go with my argument further.
Right.
I would disagree with you.
We have Jonjo, we have Aurelian. You can just take turns and open up your mics after you see that someone raised their hand.
Jonjo, do you allow me to ask some questions, because I have two logistical questions. One, is this debate eating our half an hour? It's like eating into our half an hour requirement for ending up with a joint statement? And second question would be, are you presenting the twists now or during our negotiation process or dialogue process? What's the situation on that?
So the time started 3 minutes ago. And this is part of the exercise. This negotiation is part of the exercise, this discussion that you're having. And the twists, I will not let you know. I will just hear them. So
yes, so I mean, following what Aurelian says, given that we are started, I think the most logical step would be to just identify what we definitely know, which is there's been an event. There are very likely civilian casualties, and there's a requirement for some form of response. I think we can then go from there. I think those are three things we know. As as a journalist, and I think us saying those three things based on information can't be rejected at this point.
Nicoletta,
and then sorry, I wanted to ask, maybe make a lucky guess, if any of our colleagues here at the table have more information about what's happening, and they can give us more, maybe the authorities, and they can give us more info if they have, or if they don't, we can start from there.
Let's see. So nobody has more information. So what are some facts about this situation? Alexander, yeah.
So yes, I agree with Ginger that we should maybe basically state the facts that we have that are 100% sure, and nobody can say no to this, that there has been a serious event with civilian casualties, and there is also a high probability of misinformation happening rapidly. So we need to stick to the facts and basically set maybe 3 or 4 points that we all agree on for now, if this is all the information that we have.
Yeah, and NATO recommends to just indicate that we are monitoring the situation, that we are aware of the casualties. We are aware that a serious incident happens in Velina, and I think from the NATO perspective, we need to emphasize that NATO and the EU are both prepared to coordinate support if needed, humanitarian and military, if that's the case. And I think, as my colleagues mentioned, yes, it will be interesting to and required to just briefly state the facts, situation in Velina, casualties. EU and NATO can coordinate and will coordinate to provide all the resources to the Velinian government to solve the situation.
We have a lot of hands raised. I also suggest to you, in the interest of time, to use the chat to write down already what you know. I don't know who, I think Bianca was first. Oh, amazing. This app shows us the order of hands raised. Amazing. So Bianca.
Yes, so I wanted exactly to put the pressure on time, maybe to let's state together the three facts that we know, so that we can have a starting point together.
Right.
So what are the facts besides the location, besides the border of Velina? What are precisely the facts that cannot be questionable?
So I think one fact would be, I realized someone else had in front of me. But I think one fact would be there are reports of civilian casualties. I think it's risky to say there are, as we have no evidence. But so I think a key thing in our joint statement would be to give a modifier like suspected civilian casualties, reported civilian casualties, something in that regard. So yeah, serious event, reported civilian casualties, and as Aurelian mentioned, the need for a response regarding what this response is. we can maybe discuss this, whether it involves NATO, EU, or CSAs. But I think we can maybe write that down at least.
Can you write it down?
Aurelian, I think, is typing. Savannah, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, so being in the cyber hybrid threat role, since this is something with casual issues, it's unclear right now what level maybe my role or my actions was in the actual event, but for the subsequent response, I think partnering with kind of with the government, with any other actors who may have a little bit more information to be able to release a statement where we can debunk certain misinformation would be key. And then also, once we collaborate with you, we can put in, okay, so these are fact-based things. This is coming from the government. This is coming from an NGO. This is whoever the relevant bodies are within this situation. And then subsequently, and this might be more in the long term versus the immediate, helping to develop protocols in the future.
Savannah, your sound is not really good. So I don't know. Do you guys could you get what she was saying? Could you perhaps do you have any? I don't hear you. Could you perhaps write in the chat? I know. So by the time Savannah is trying to talk again, Nicoletta, you had your hand raised.
Yes, from my point of view as a representative of one of the biggest NGOs here in Velina, I think the most important thing is to, right now, are the actual civilian casualties. The authorities, as well as other NGOs we already spoke with, it's important for them to go there to assess the situation and, of course, help the civilians that are hurt. And I think external authorities like NATO, like the EU, should get involved too, as well as international NGOs, because in times of crisis, it's important for us to work together. So from my point of view, the first point that we should make is that there is need of rapid intervention in the area.
Okay, these are the actions, but what are the facts? Is
Can
anyone?
I jump in a bit?
Yes. Yeah.
So from the EU perspective, one fact that I would like to ask for us to take into consideration is that Velina, it's an eastern neighborhood. So it's a close partner, and as EU, it's a promoter of stability in the region. I think that we should focus on that and assuring human rights are in place, and we should focus on an oversight to see what's happening in the country and make sure that we continue to promote stability. So that's the fact that I want to consider here. It's the fact that Velina, it's a close partner of the EU and as well a neighbor.
Okay, but then I'm curious, how does our US partners position on this? Is that a fact that we want to have in there? Yes, Nico.
I thought we cannot disagree about the facts if we have like generally from my standpoint, the facts are things that already happen. We should go from step 2 further.
But what are the facts?
Some of the facts are that there are civilian casualties, because from my point of view, reports sounds like an official document. I would think a report is an official document, is not something on social media. So I would say it's a confirmed source that says that there are casualties at the border. So that's one fact, and one I am really interested in. second fact, there are a lot of misinformation, so the thing can escalate from that, from social media. Things can escalate. There will be, so that's another fact. And then that there was already an initial statement, but there were so many inconsistencies that another needs to be done.
All right.
So, and that the authorities, some of the international authorities, the organizations, sorry, are monitoring the situations. I think these are the three facts from my point of view. Casualties, misinformation and monitoring already.
So we have casualties, misinformation, and already taken out statement. And then we have Aurelian who raised his hand first. Savannah wrote in the chat, I see.
Yeah, so I'm also writing in the chat. Sorry for not participating that much, but basically, at this point in time, we are not sure if anything reported in the media is actually true. We see a lot of incongruences. So in this context, NATO recommends that both NATO and its partners should acknowledge that we received several reports mentioning an incident on the border of Velina, and those local stakeholders also suggested civilian casualties. Nevertheless, because of the high level of uncertainty, NATO is prepared to offer support, including intelligence gathering capabilities to EU partners in order to precisely assess what's happening on the ground. And if it's required, NATO, of course, in conjunction with the European partners, with the European Union, is prepared to offer humanitarian, military, and any other type of support.
All right, I see that Jonjo has written in the chat that we cannot say conclusively that there have been casualties, otherwise it would be termed as confirmed reports. Okay. Then Savannah said, okay, she's talking about has been an issue misinformation. Okay, so she already went into actions, but then for the facts, so how clear are we about the facts? How trusting are we in the sources that we have? Are we trusting at all? Bianca.
So I think.
Oh, sorry,
Okay.
Jonjo. Or I don't know. You decide who wants to discuss first.
Can I just say that if like I wrote down the facts and I will also write them in the chat. If you agree with these facts, so we can move to the actions. So we had identified together three important facts. First of all is the location, and Velina is an eastern country, as Nicoletta said, and as the European Union is a promoter of stability, that the European Union and NATO is doing the best as it can. The fact that also another fact, it's that there are civilian casualties at the border. I know that Jojo said if there are indeed civilian casualties, but I do suggest that this is like an issue, and yes, there is misinformation going on. That's the third fact, but I think these casualties, from my perspective, it's a key point on our response. So what do you think?
So I see that Alexander has written in the chat, the fact that we all agree on is the first sentence, that there was a serious incident on the border of Velina. Other parts might be part of the misinformation maybe. And then also Savannah says that we are not clear yet, right? So what's the one thing that everybody here agrees on? One thing. Let's focus on only one thing.
And there's been an event. I think that's one thing, yes.
That there was an event, yeah? There was something happening. All right, we have one fact.
Yeah.
Then what's another thing that we know for sure?
That there's a situation, a political a situation, an instance of political instability in Velina, and that might escalate to further issues in the region. Hence, NATO and the EU should be involved to support the government.
All right, that's one take of it.
Okay, do you agree then to do not put in the statement the words casualties and that mention that there is an incident on the border of Elena and that we want to provide the best support to it? What do you think of this fact? And to just go.
I mean, we
further
can
with
include
this.
casualties, I think. I just think we say reported casualties
Yes.
or
I don't know.
reports of casualties.
I think we should just even go even more abstract or even more general in the approach and say that we acknowledge that there were reports identifying an incident, because we are not 100% sure what the incident really is, if it really happened, if it's just disinformation campaign or something like that. In the end, it might not be any incidents. It might be just a very well concerted and constructed disinformation campaign. So I think we should just acknowledge that we receive reports, that we are doing all we can do to support the affected parties, but we need to further assess the situation and better collect intelligence and information.
Newsflash. You have just received an official update from the Vilnian government. The number of civilian casualties is unclear. The early reports stated 15, but the preliminary government report now mentions only 9. Though verification is still ongoing, media outlets in the country are already publishing both numbers. People are going crazy. So,
There's something I wanted to add to what Aurelian said a while ago, and also about disinformation and NATO's involvement in this. I believe we should focus on EU's response to this, and for as long as we don't have enough information from the Bolivian government on what the casualties are, what is the nature of the conflict, so we don't feed the misinformation more with NATO's involvement in the situation. Yeah.
okay, we have Savannah, we have Roxana, we have Nicoleta, Bianca, whoever wants to go first.
I can speak, if that's okay. So right now, because we do have official statements and there are casualties, I think it's really important to investigate and assess the situation. And I think this should be one of the first things that we should add in our report. That is, we need to go there. Of course, there is. I'm sure if there are other people that are wounded or in a shock state, there is a need of NGOs or humanitarian aid in general there. So from my point of view, to try to negotiate further and to understand other points of view, I think that the best thing that we could do is to investigate further by creating a task force that will have authorities, that will have NGO representative, that will have people from the Red Cross and the Department of Emergencies in here in Velina. And after we can have more information about what it's really happening. So if you agree about that, it can be one of the things that the action that we can add in our, one of the 3 actions that we can add in our report.
So we have, so when it says a 3-point joint statement, it means that it has to have facts, actions, and the risk. So it doesn't have to be 3 in number for all of them. So we have the facts, we have an incident. Let's go.
One of the actions, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, we have an incident happening in Velina. We know that there are some casualties, but we don't know yet how many, what if it's true or not. So how do we go about it? Do we say that it's still unclear?
I
Yeah.
would say that we should say that it's unclear for right now, or at the very least, if we have to publish a number, say something along the lines of, I think you said the lower number was 9, casualties 9, numbers expected to rise or lower or whatever that may be. I still think it'd be better to include or lead with uncertainty and say that this could change. But if we'd need some kind of quantitative number, I would say go with lower and then say the number is expected to change.
Still, I want to say that people are panicking and maybe the European Union and NATO, as you mentioned, is promoting more stability. So maybe for us might be better to not necessarily state a number of the civilians that have been part of the casualties, and just say there is the incidents going, and that the officials are investigating the case, to not promote like more misinformation until we have more news coming. So what?
Go ahead, sorry.
Wait, Aurelian said something in the chat.
Do you agree?
How much time
do you
do
agree
you still
for
have?
NATO to coordinate the joint international response to that?
The thing is that NATO is the purpose of NATO. If NATO is responding, then it might create more panic, because then it might be more and more serious and people might react more to it.
I would disagree. One of the core NATO tasks is crisis management, besides deterrence and defense.
Yes.
And cooperative security. So crisis management is something that is happening right now.
Statement that it's not a military intervention, and we will just use our intelligence gathering capabilities to better support our European partners, and the EU can activate its emergency response plans and mechanisms. So the EU will coordinate everything on the ground, and NATO will just support with intelligence gathering, just to be sure that this incident does not escalate into a military conflict, or because we don't even know at this moment what will happen. So we just want to, to monitor the situation and offer intelligence to de-escalate the situation.
Stefan, you had your hand raised.
And again, we need to focus on how many minutes do you still have until we need to deliver the statements?
First, I would say let's go like this. Do you all agree on the facts? Do you all agree on Aurelian's proposition for the actions? Basically, NATO coordinating, EU also somehow stepping in. What about the others?
NATO is also happy to have a joint coordinated program or intervention. It can be a EU-NATO type of intervention, joint international response.
I think it's important to add also other, like I said before, a task force that should include also people from civil society, from NGOs as well, not only NATO, EU, and also maybe the government of Volhynia.
Sure, we will include all stakeholders. It's going to be in the statement. Yeah, sure.
What's the order? What's the order? I am curious. What would be the order of the stakeholders in the statement? Who's first?
Let's focus first on the fact, and then on the, because we still didn't agree. We did not agree on the fact yet. So, and the order is not important from NATO's perspective.
What we actually know is that NATO and the European Union, it's already monitoring the situation. So I think that we need a proper cooperation with local NGOs, so we can assure that the principles, democratic principles, are respected, and human rights are in order, and everything it's on point. I disagree with a statement that will be somehow flaky, and I would propose a concrete and clear statement, so that we don't know exactly what the problem is, but I think that the unity is important, and we don't need to show any vulnerability in the sense that we're not sure what's going on.
Okay, that's an interesting point.
So I think we should work on that in order to promote political stability and a coordinated response. That's what's needed from us.
Okay, but do you have information to base your stability on? We have some hands raised. I think it was Nicoletta, Jonjo, and Savannah. Actually, it's Savannah, Nicoletta, and Jonjo. based on the Teams app.
Well, something I noticed was that it said that it occurred on the border, and because there's panic, maybe putting into the statement that there's a border security measure being implemented just to prevent panic at the very least. And then also incorporating in the employing the intelligence, whether that be in terms of hybrid threats or just an investigation, regardless. I think those two should be implemented within the action plan itself, since we do know that it occurred on the border and we don't have enough information to go off of. Because that, at the very least, will prevent more panic.
Okay. Given that Nicoletta and Jonjo have already taken the word, how about we let Stefan to go in first? Yeah.
I was on the same side with Anna about not giving, because a lot of things are involved, but we don't have a specific number. So people will start to ask, and about misinformation, it will be something really crazy because you don't know exactly what is happening. You don't know a specific number. And from a US point of view, when you don't know something and a lot of big companies, NGOs, and everything is involved, you will start questioning and you start panicking because you know exactly what is going on, and how you can see a specific number is a different story. For the moment, we can wait a little bit, but not so much.
Okay. Thank you, Alexander.
I also agree that it is not a good idea to point a certain amount of casualties because we don't know how many, and if this number turns out to be wrong, then it turns out that we're lying. So I agree with Jonjo's suggestion that if we are all sure that there have been casualties, we can just mention that they are still to be verified because we don't have information who made the reports or what they are. But yeah, basically we need to stick to a decision that we all agreed on and without mentioning any numbers because we still don't know.
Yeah, just to jump on with Alexander, I think, as I said, it's okay to include some uncertainty in the statement. If we look at the examples of coronavirus, a lot of public distrust happened because people made concrete assertions about the need for masks or need for vaccinations, etc., which basically eroded trust. So I think we can say, this is the information we have right now. It could change, but being open and transparent with the public. So, and then we can then go on to the actions, which is I think having a task force is a good idea, coordinated by NATO.
All right, so for now we have two options for the facts. There is an incident happening at the border of Elena. The local authorities are investigating the situation, and the EU, together with NATO, are showing their support to make sure that the situation will not escalate and secure the borders. And then we have another one where we are also discussing about the fact that casualties have been confirmed. However, the total number are still to be verified due to conflicting reports. Would it be would it be an option to combine both of them?
I think so, yes. Like we can combine the fact that casualties have been confirmed and just go further into action if you agree with.
Do we have a consensus up to now?
We do.
Joining in. So
NATO, in order to speed up a little bit of the things, going right here, NATO took the lead in drafting an initial version of the statement, and of course we are open to any modification and addition. So if you can take a look.
Your time is up, yes.
Yeah, the time is up. So I took the time to 1 second.
I'm gonna stop sharing because I think that by now you've all memorized the story.
That's what NATO came up with in this short amount of time.
NATO and the European Union are closely monitoring the unfolding situation on the border of Velina, a country in the European Union's eastern neighborhood, following reports of a serious incident resulting in civilian casualties. At this time, multiple sources, including local authorities, international media, and social networks, are circulating conflicting accounts of the event. We urge all actors to exercise restraint and prioritize verified information. In an era of rapid digital dissemination, misinformation can escalate tensions and undermine efforts toward de-escalation and humanitarian response. We note the initial statement issued by the Velinian government and acknowledge the internal political challenges that may be affecting the coherence of national messaging. NATO remains in close contact with the European Union and other international partners to support a coordinated and fact-based response. We are particularly concerned about the potential weaponization of narratives and the deliberate spread of disinformation aimed at destabilizing the region, of eroding trust in democratic institutions. And we are calling for, this is a long statement, immediate humanitarian access to affected areas in coordination with civil society and international NGOs, transparent investigation into the incident led by impartial authorities and supported by international observers, responsible communication by all stakeholders, avoiding speculation and inflammatory rhetoric. Well, before we go on, just one question. Your time for the exercise is up, indeed. I mean, technically, you have a statement. So the task can be marked as done. Now, the statement, I don't know how whether you guys are in agreement with the statement, but I want to ask you before we keep going, would you be, so we should have been finishing the meeting by now, but would you be up to stay maybe 20 minutes more to discuss a bit more, also about the exercise and so on, or do you have to go now? We can also continue the negotiations if you want. I mean, I have all evening, but I don't want to take your time because we discussed for 1 hour and a half.
Yeah, so in my case, I'm a little bit time constrained, but I can invest 15 more minutes. Again, it's not my best work. It's something that I try to draft as fast as possible. You may have some typos there, but nevertheless, we can agree on changing a little bit if you want.
So then how about we do it like this? I will take the statement and I will put it in the chat, in our chat, on WhatsApp. And I suggest we continue there. But before that, let's draw up some conclusions. Because
I had a question.
Yeah.
Sorry, did you give us the second fact?
No, I gave up on giving
Okay.
I
was curious about it.
Yeah, I can say it to you, but then it's a coalition of Velinian NGOs has released a public statement calling for immediate evacuation of affected communities along the border. Security analysts warn that such a move could trigger panic and worsen regional tensions. You need to consider this in your statement. So that was the second twist for you guys, but I feel like the Russian Federation needs to respond. But I feel like from my point, the exercise was a success because you started, negotiating and using your red line. So maybe now I can share. Some of you had some secret missions. So one secret mission was for NATO to be the lead on on negotiations and also on the statement, and somebody else had the secret mission of not allowing NATO to do that. I don't remember if it was Anna or Nicoleta that had this secret mission. And also Savannah had the mission of making sure that hybrid threats would be introduced in the statement. So I feel like Savannah met her, she reached her goal. Aurelian also probably reached his goal by being the way this joint statement is written. Looks like NATO is the leader of you all. Normally, this sort of statement would not go out like this. But I wanted to ask you what was the most frustrating part of it all? Obviously, with all the confusion and everything. Nothing?
Too many stakeholders and too many opposing views, and a lot of time wasted on deciding what can be considered fact or not. Sorry, Savannah.
Go ahead, Savannah.
I'd say to the core, just the fact that there wasn't really much for us to go on just at the core of it. So it was kind of just having to be okay with putting uncertainty out. And also with that being said, not knowing exactly what happened, it's hard to make qualitative actionable goals because we can just say, be alert for misinformation, but it's hard to make a definitive plan if we don't know exactly what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Definitive actionable goals, I guess.
Okay. Alexander?
Yes, I mean, I agree. I had the responsibility to basically not allow any misinformation or any unverified facts. But as we had so little information and we didn't really know what was happening, it was actually difficult. Like from one side, not to imagine anything, and from the other side, not to allow anything to be imagined. So it's basically just repeating more or less what was written there, and that's it. Yeah.
Thank you, Anna.
Yeah, so I agree with my colleagues, and I think that we lacked a bit of clarity in what's happening in this country, this fictional country, and yeah, we basically stood at the first step. And it's hard to, I mean, we had a lot of opinion and we debated a lot, which is a good thing in my opinion, but because of debating so much, we didn't focus on the core strategic communication message, and we might have come up with a conclusion and a message that it's not proper for the event, like maybe humanitarian access is not needed because there are only 9 civilian victims or whatever. It depends. So I just think that we should not really jump to conclusions when we're not very clear about what's happening.
All right, Bianca?
So for me, it was a bit frustrating because I was the one technically to jump to the conclusion because I had to coordinate the communication between you and make sure that a statement is put out. Especially like it was very hard because you had like different opinions on facts, and it was difficult a bit to agree and move forward from that. But I found it like very dynamic, and I enjoyed it a lot. I enjoyed the fact that it turned out to be more of a debate style, but still I think we lost the track of time.
So now maybe I can share with you. So you are all in a trap because the only fact and the only true fact about this is that you don't have facts. So what ideally, what should have been communicated is that we have received information that something might happen in Velina, but we do not have enough facts to assess the situation. Therefore, we jointly will coordinate and observe the situation, and the more information comes up, we will update our steps accordingly, but we are preparing different strategies and plans of action in case there is any escalation. So that would be, but then you fell into the trap because I told you I will be the devil's advocate. You fell into the trap when I told you to check that you have all the information on the screen. So you were, debating about whether the information on the screen is correct or not, and so on. But then the thing is that you all were victims of disinformation, right? Or not enough information. So always, and I think some of you, but I don't remember which one, stated at some point that, oh, we don't have enough facts. But you just let it slide. and kept the debate going, which is cool, right? But and my goal for this was to show you that it's actually happening, not only in a simulation, but it's happening in real time, because you're under a lot of pressure, and you tend to take for granted whatever comes in front of your eyes. And sometimes you cannot, take 3 steps back and be like, hey, is this accurate or not? Is it clear enough? Is it solid enough for me to work on? And sometimes, because we are forced as leaders to communicate and to take out a statement, we tend to take out a statement based on whatever we have. While sometimes it's just better to say we don't have enough information, we don't have enough facts, and we will just wait. Please be patient, bear with us. So for me, it was very fun to to see the debate unfolding. And I mean, I don't know if it was useful, if you found it useful or at least engaging, or if there is something for you that you've learned from here. I hope so. I will also be happy if you feel like this is something that you could benefit from, to maybe from time to time also maybe schedule a 2-hour meeting where we just jump straight into a simulation like this, and we can work on different components, starting from, making sure that we have facts, to positioning yourselves as different actors. How do you negotiate on the wording, on the phrasing, and so on? So yeah, this could be, I mean, for me, I find it funny, and I find it, like, interesting, and I love that I'm doing this in my day-to-day. But if you also feel like it's something that could be useful for you, I'm very happy to organize with you more meetings like this. So yeah, I don't know if you enjoyed it. I hope you did. And if it's just to, because I asked you when we started to share one highlight of your last weeks. Now maybe I would like for a closure to ask you, if that's one thing that you've learned today, what is that? And afterwards, I think that we're good to go.
To be honest, I didn't really know much about the structure of a joint statement at all. So I think just practicing that and getting experience kind of just structuring that and debating and putting it to paper is something that was a good thing to learn.
Great.
Also, it was very interesting for me to be the NGO, the activist here, because usually I'm on the other side, where you have to make all these diplomatic statements and everything. And while we had this, and I was listening to all my colleagues, I saw that from that perspective, it's not like every human life matters. Like, I know that I was the activist. I was like, hey, every human right matters. But everyone else was speaking, in terms of institutional and everything. And usually I'm on the other side. So this was really interesting to see it from this side. That sometimes we look, at certain things on macro levels, and we see people as numbers, and we try to do things according to certain procedures, and we don't care about the more, I don't know, human things of it. So it was really nice to be on the other side of things.
Amazing. Alexander?
Yes. So as a learning experience, I think that basically it is good to work in a team and to coordinate between ourselves, but also to keep track of time. So I think we did the mistake of not actually knowing how much time we have. So it is better to mention the basic things that we know and to have some kind of result, and then work on this result to improve it more and more, and not leave it for the last minutes or seconds. I think if we had a clock basically saying how much time we had or something like this, it would be more useful to know when it is the time to start doing it.
Or to simply pay attention to when I said that you have up to 750. And also, one thing that we talked about today is iteration. So yes, you need to iterate, to do things step by step. Thank you. Aurelian.
I want to start by apologizing to my colleagues that NATO took such an aggressive lead in this case, but it was it was my hidden agenda, so I'm so sorry for that. And I want to pinpoint the fact that it was very, very interesting and insightful to see so many different opinions and so many different approaches coming together in such a diverse group. And I'm so sorry again for taking the lead and just writing down the first thing that came into my mind. But I hope that all the other fellows enjoyed the exercise as much as I did.
Thank you. And thank you for taking the lead. I mean, that's part of being a leader. So, all right. Who else wants to share? Do we have? If not, oh, Anna. Okay.
Yeah, just one small thing. I think that what was interesting to see is even that we dealt with some information that was lacking facts and we didn't know exactly what's happening. We managed to work around it and come up with opinions and strategies and how to promote our agendas, even if actually we had nothing to work on, but we managed to, to point something. So I think that's a good thing for us that, we build something regardless of the result.
Thank you.
And it's funny as well.
Thank you. Thank you all. This is the first of many to come workshops from our capacity building phase of the fellowship. So I'm happy that you've built something starting day one. Let me put it like that. And I'm happy that this way you also learned a bit more about each one of you and about your styles of approaching issues, of negotiating and taking the lead, because you will need it when you will form teams and work together in teams for your final project. And thank you once again for staying till the end and for joining and for being very, very active. I'm super happy that all of you participated and were very engaged. And we will see each other soon. And by then, we keep in contact. And for any issues, or if you want to do this again in a more organized way, let me know. And I'm very happy to schedule. And happy holidays if we don't see each other by then.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, team.
Thank you so much.